Aloha and welcome to the Believer's Journey. This is our short version on our video, 5 to 10 minutes. And I want to let you know first off before we get going that if you want to go to the YouTube, I would appreciate it if you go to YouTube and you go to type in the Believer's Journey. You'll see my little logo here. If you click on it and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. It would help us to get our YouTube visual higher and better up. It does not cost anything to subscribe. All it does for you is it allows you to have the notations that when I'm putting my stuff on, then you can see it easier and get to it faster. But all you need to do is type in the Believer's Journey. Mine is with that apostrophe there, and then go ahead and subscribe and you can watch the videos on YouTube. Okay? Thank you. Last week, we talked about the word believe. And we talked about the fact that the word believe is a verb that is active, something that we do, something that we act upon, that we follow. And so if we're going to believe, we need to realize it's an active verb, not a passive verb. So this week, what I want to talk about is kind of the counterpart, the word faith. The word faith, we seem to have lots of stuff running around our world to tell us what we think it is. A lot of people will go to the verse in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, and they'll read, and I'll read in three different versions for you. One is, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, and that's in your King James Version. In your New American Standard Version, it says, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. And finally, we have the New International Version, and it says, now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. The problem we have is that many people will stop at that verse and define the word faith or the term faith on that particular verse. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't even know how to define the verse, so they feel it's something we have a feeling about, of something we can't see. Okay, and it stops right there. What is really unique is that this whole chapter in Hebrews of chapter 11 is what we call the faith chapter of the Bible. It talks about faith in such a way that helps us understand that we realize the word faith now is not something that we have or something passive, but it's something active. I'm going to show you again, the top word is pistis. It is the Greek word for faith. And in the bottom word, Emunah, is the Hebrew word we find in the Old Testament for the word faith. Faith is something that is something we follow in fidelity, in moral fidelity, if you will. Something that we're being trusting upon. We trust in Jesus. We trust in God. We follow Him. We're following Him only. Okay, so like a husband and wife have moral fidelity to one another. Okay, we have a moral fidelity to God. Okay, and in that we have what we call faith. Now, the thing about faith is that there are many scriptures in that chapter that talk about what faith is. Somehow I put down my paper, but in that verse, or in that chapter, it talks about Abraham had faith. By his faith, when he was called out from the area he lived in and went into a foreign land, that was faith. When he was called out for his sacrifice of his son, was faith. When Noah was told to build the ark and he built the ark, that was faith. So we're seeing here that faith is actually following the direction of God. It's being true to Him in what He wants us and calls us to do. There's another one, Abel. Abel showed his faith when he gave an offering, that God honored, opposed to Cain, which he did not. The interesting thing is that when we talk about faith, when we talk about pistis, okay, or emuno, we're talking about an active verb. Again, this is so important because it's almost like it's the brother or sister to pistuo, which we interpret believe. So what we're looking at is another term that is going to be an active verb. Okay, the fact that it's an active verb means it's not something we walk around with and think, well, I have faith in God because he's my God and I know he's there. Rather, you have faith in God because you're following all that he wants you to do, all that he wants you to be, and you're only following him and nothing and no one else. That is what we have as faith. Okay? What's really cool about this is that we come back to last week. I said the result of pistuo is obedience. Well, what we come to in pistis is the result of pistis, the result of faith is, again, obedience. I really believe, after I've thought about this for the last couple weeks, about the term obedience, we tend to push it aside. We tend not to like the term obedience. Jesus even used the term obedience when he talked about love. He says, if you love me, you'll obey me. So he puts obedience on the same level as love. And all through the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, all through the Bible, it talks about obeying God, loving God. And I think that as we look at believing, as we look at faith, as we look at following him, we're looking at obedience. And in my obedience is what I show that I love Jesus. In my obedience, I show that God is my God and only my God. And I think that is so, so important that we understand this. And so when we look at faith, it's important that we look at the fact that God loves you. God has prepared a life for you. And in turn, he wants and expects for us to turn to him and give us our undying life for him and love for him in all that we are and all that we do. In this time, this is a real tragic and a very particular time in our world today. Right now, as it is April 1st, 2020, we're looking at this virus that's gone around the world, this coronavirus, and we're seeing people who are locked up. We're seeing people who are what they call self-quarantine, and people who are out there and about mingling, and we see more people getting the virus and others that are dying from the virus, and we're not knowing what to do in a lot of areas. It's really funny. I see more and more people on Facebook that I've never seen before, or because there's not much else to do and the four walls are driving us crazy. Well, in all of this, one of the things that I can be sure of is as we seek God in our lives to honor him, that is being faithful. God will do what he's going to do. He will take care of us in the way he's going to take care of us. We, in return, need to honor him and be true to him in the way that he wants us to be true and honor him. So for today, live the faith, honor Jesus, and be obedient to his calling to you. I thank you today. Thank you for joining us on the Believer's Journey, and you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you in a week from now. Our guest speaker next week hopefully will be Ray Jones. So, aloha.